Hello, welcome to the Blueprint for Success webinar. We're going to be talking about planning your Blackboard modernization journey. I am Dr. Cynthia Crenshaw, and I am a principal educational consultant at Anthology. I have been with the organization for about 15 years. The entire time I have been assisting customers who are new to the Blackboard environment or who are upgrading or enhancing their Blackboard environment. And I help them with the strategic planning and the implementation planning to roll out those enhancements. Our learning objectives for this presentation are to first identify crucial steps for our migration to Blackboard Ultra, which I will be referring to as our modernization journey. We'll also be talking through a 3-phase framework for this planning to discover, define, and exploring strategies and also resources for planning your transition. And I'll be pointing you to those different resources. And then at the end of this, you'll walk away with a clear, actionable plan to drive your success. So once again, welcome. This will be a presentation, and resources will be available following this presentation to help you with this 3-phased approach. The big picture. All right. Why modernize? Well, many organizations do face delays in adopting Ultra due to a combination of technical, cultural, and strategic challenges. And you may have a combination of those different challenges at your institution. So these are just barriers that we like to identify at the beginning of an implementation plan so that we can successfully mitigate those and build them into our plan. So these are opportunities for growth and encourage you to take that mindset to think of challenges as opportunities for growth and improvement. And as I mentioned, the path towards modernization is to discover first, define, and then deliver, which would be to execute on your plan. The discover phase. Very, very important to understand where you are now and be realistic about that. And people are very, very important to this. So getting buy-in early from across your institution can really help the modernization effort go a lot smoother. And often we find in talking to customers that there are already existing processes in place, like course life cycles, where refreshing content is already built into a stakeholder's annual plan, or communication channels that are already established and working well. It's not always about creating new approaches, but it can be more about leveraging what is already there and working well. And I always like to encourage my customers to think about other change management initiatives that have happened at their institutions and what worked well for those, what was successful with gaining that buy-in early from across all of the important stakeholders. Then you can leverage that for this particular project. Now, in working with Blackboard customers over the years, we usually see some representation from the learning support team or the academic side of the house, and we also see representation from the technology team. So as you can see, the system admin is listed in both. Sometimes it is a joint effort, other times the primary responsibility resides in either the academic or teaching and learning side of the house or the IT side of the house. Now you'll see that underneath technology, you also have the SIS integration and authentication setup, which is probably already done for you if you are using Blackboard Original, but it's always good to double check that setup, and this could be a good time to enhance those or make some modifications to that workflow. There's also textbook and teaching tools set up. Sometimes this resides in the IT side of the house. Other times this resides in the academic or the learning side of the house or part of the core team. So we usually find that a learning support and technology team is made up of between 2 to 10 different people. But then there's always communication out to the different stakeholders, because the stakeholders represent individuals who are somehow impacted by a transition in the Blackboard interface. And so what we need to do is consider them in the plan in order to provide them with the appropriate support. So accounting for your assets, it is always very, very important to really understand your learning management system ecosystem. So what are the network of integrations and tools that come together to support your online or your web-supported courses on your campus? We like to map these by actually drawing a diagram to make sure that we're being very proactive about the different touch points. So you can see on this next slide here that this is an example of an ecosystem. So we have the student information system on the left side. Typically, there's a single sign-on. That would be the user authentication at the top that goes into the student information system, as well as the Blackboard learning management system. There's going to be a landing page. You're going to have courses. They're going to talk to each other back and forth. And it's really important to understand how your institution sets up your ecosystem and what all the touch points are prior to your modernization journey. Then defining phase. Once we know where we are, we want to think about where do we want to go. So this is always important to consider at the beginning of a project, and that is, what does success look like? You want to look at your current data, the institution calendar, and resources. Set realistic goals for your institution. For example, you can run an admin report to find out what your current Ultra adoption percentage is. You can filter your courses by Ultra and Original in your admin interface, or you can ask your customer success manager, what is your Ultra percentage? All customer success managers have access to your Ultra percentage data and will be monitoring it over the next 18 months so that they can support you in your modernization journey. So once you know your current percentage, then you can create a plan to increase that. It could be something like 10 to 20% over the next 2 to 5 semesters. Could be that you're going to transition 100% over a semester or two. That is absolutely possible and doable. As part of that transition plan, once you decide how quickly you're going to be transitioning, you do need to have some faculty training and support in place. We have a lot of things that we are making available to all customers. And this is another opportunity to talk in detail with your customer success manager about your efforts there. Now, types of goals. It's always good to consider the institutional goals, and maybe you all have a timeline that you've established and it's been approved by leadership to transition to Ultra. There could be individual core team goals that you have, and then your personal goals, depending on your job responsibilities and your role in the Blackboard learning management system. So this can sometimes be a little overwhelming. So we like to just offer one of the many strategies or models that are out there to help analyze and prioritize your different tasks and goals that you have related to this modernization journey. So this is the Moscow method, and it's just very, very practical way that you can make a list of Post-it notes or write down a bunch of different items or put this on a whiteboard and have a team collaborate and contribute ideas. We've used it in many different ways. Once you have all of your tasks or ideas or challenges listed, then you need to list them in, then you can categorize them in must do, should do, could do, or won't do, or maybe won't do right now for the initial launch. Now, this is a worksheet that is available in our Modernization Planning course. There are quite a few resources that are available in that course, and we will definitely be communicating that access to you. It is included with your Blackboard license and available to all customers who would like to go through the planning course. When you create a project timeline, we like to think of the end date and then move backwards in time. So there's often early movers that you can identify that might be a little bit more eager to go in one of the earlier semesters. Maybe they're your technology savvy faculty. I've had customers identify certain colleges or departments who have more sophisticated online courses as the early movers. I've also had some other customers identify the face-to-face courses that are web supported to go first because those are a little bit of an easier lift. So it really, really depends on your institution and your stakeholders who you want to identify as the early movers, whether it is a organic volunteer type of effort, or if you are going to be a little bit more targeted with that initiative. And then you want to make sure that you provide training and support to those faculty, as well as target some percentages or number of courses or number of faculty, something that is measurable. We would strongly encourage you to identify something that is measurable as different milestones throughout your plan. And here's an example of a timeline for fall 2025. And as you can see, the project planning happens in the first few weeks. Then admin and staff or core team training happens in a few weeks following that. That's where we have a lot of resources that are available to you. Faculty will need some training, and that would be the Teaching Essentials course, where we have unlimited seats for faculty. And then there will need to be some sort of course migration or conversion. That could either be a bulk conversion, or it could be a course-by-course refresh and rebuild that are done by faculty. If you're doing a refresh and rebuild or a bulk course, we definitely encourage you to have the course review and refinement in there. And throughout this entire implementation plan, we do have a dedicated team to help you. Your customer success manager is going to be your primary point of contact. And I would like to say that it is easier to modernize than you think. We have actually looked at utilization data of institutions who did a full ultra cutover for fall of 2024. 70% of these institutions had no significant increase in course preparation prior to the teaching term starting. Now, once faculty were trained, other institutions found that they only had about 5 minutes increase in preparation time. So it is very easy to reuse materials and assessments from prior Blackboard courses, and most third-party content will just work. That is what our customers have found. So with a little advanced planning, it should go very, very smoothly for you all. This is just another example of a different graphic for the timeline. And there's a very similar one in the modernization planning course. You can see with this one, there were certain waves of conversion and refinement. Summer courses are always a good time to try out something new, followed by a full ultra implementation for the fall. All right, time to deliver. So putting everything together. We have a lot of courses and resources that are currently available for administrators, for core team members, for folks who are planning, for faculty members. There are live facilitated webinars, there are on-demand toolkit resources, self-paced courses available. All of these are available to you all. Your customer success manager can point you to these different resources. AT25 is coming up, or it might have just passed depending on when you are watching this recording. And that's going to be another time where there's a lot of resources and things shared with you. So you are definitely not alone. It's always important to keep everything tracked and look at the numbers of faculty you've trained, look at your adoption conversion rates. If you're also doing an accessibility initiative, this is a good time to look at those ally or accessibility reports for your course materials, and make sure you're just continually being iterative about your feedback and adjusting your plans. All right, what is in my toolkit? Well, we are continually adding things to this, but these are some things I can definitely tell you. The Blackboard modernization courses are available to you all. In addition to this webinar, the modernization planning course will have actual worksheets and resources and even more examples than I've mentioned today. The Blackboard Modernization for Administrators course is critical to helping administrators know what to do with those system-wide level settings, the feature flags, the release notes about new things that are coming out, very specifically the tools and features and what happens to them if you do a bulk convert versus a course copy of materials. So I highly, highly recommend the Modernization for Administrators course to every single system administrator who is going through this modernization journey. And then the Teaching Essentials course is important for all faculty. It will contain some information about course conversions and how to manage those, as well as some of the new exciting features. We have a full adoption toolkit that your customer success manager will be pointing you to, and a lot of facilitated webinars and on-demand resources. This is a list of all of the modernization webinars that are happening, and they are regularly scheduled. So please check the registration schedule for these, and we hope to see you in one of these modernization webinars. Thank you so much for watching this recording. You will have information about the resources and links provided to you. And please, please, please contact your customer success manager for any questions or assistance with the modernization journey. Thank you so much for listening to this recording, and I hope you have a great day.